Wednesday. I have to put I didn't fix my name this morning. So give me a minute. While I do that. Now you know who I am. My name is Reverend Lori Irwin Johnson, and I use the pronouns she and her. And if you've been here before, I'm so glad you decided to join us again on this beautiful Sunday, but warm Pacific Northwest day. And I'm also glad if this is your first time here. If you've never been here before and you're visiting for the first time, we're so glad to have you. We're so glad you decided to join us here at Unity of Tacoma. And we're here each and every Sunday at 10 a.m. So, how is everybody? You can open up your mic and you can say, hey, I'm doing great. Or whatever.
Good morning, everybody.
Good
I'm
morning.
great. So glad to be here.
Good morning. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And that's okay, Sandra. Your mic doesn't work. We hear you. She says her mic doesn't work, but her camera doesn't either, but she's here with us today. So today I'm going to be talking a little bit about unlocking your intuition. Everybody knows they have a little bit of intuition, but we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that today. And we're going to be trusting our inner guides. What is it that we're hearing and why are we hearing that and how are we hearing that and how that shows up in the many ways in your life. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. First, I'd like to introduce our musical guest. We have Stephan Plummer here today. She's not really a guest. I think she is a family member that just comes in once a month. And so our musical family member today is Stephan Plummer. And so I'd like to invite her in for our first song. So thanks for being here, Stephan. You're muted.
Hi, everybody. So this is a very peaceful song. Just take a moment and breathe. I breathe in, I breathe out, I take in, and I give out. I let love, I let go, I release, and I know. Breathe, breathe. No need to push, no need to try, no need to worry or question why. Surrender, let it go, release, and know. No need to push, no need to try, no need to worry or question why. Surrender, let it go, release, and know. Sing that with me.
That was lovely. Thank you so much. Boy, I love that song. I don't think I've ever heard you sing that one before.
That's a Karen Drucker.
Karen Drucker. Beautiful. Love it. All right. Now that Stephan has set the tone for our service today, I would like to go into our prayer for protection. Most of you already know the prayer for protection, but I will put it on the screen for those of you who do not. And so let's say the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. And wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so, as we sit in this stage, in this state of prayer, as we open our hearts, open our minds, and just open our senses to what is happening right here, right now, we're allowing that healing energy that is sending us messages and giving us clues and insights and intuitions of what's happening each and every moment of each and every day. And in order to hear those, we have to take the time to sit still and be. So during this time of prayer, we are sitting in a space where we're receptive to all the things that we need in order to thrive and to have a sense of well-being, and also to feel the love of the universe and from each other through the connections that we share. We're so grateful for our time on Sunday and our time anytime that we're able to be together, to be able to be within each other's presence, whether it be here or in person. We know that we are a family. We're more than a community. We are a family, and no matter where we are, we know that we have each other. We have each other to support us, to pray for us, and most importantly, to love us. And so thank you. Thank you again for meeting with us today. And so it is. Amen. All right. Thank you again for being here today. It's just a wonderful opportunity for us to be here and to share what's happening in the world. I know that this morning, especially, it's kind of stressful for a lot of us. So I wanted to bring us back into a centered space where we are focused on what's important. And what's important is our heart. And we're bringing ourselves to our heart. And we're creating the world we would like to see and the world we would like to live in. So even though we're not closing our eyes to the events in the world today, we know that the greatest good is always on tap. It's always what's going to happen. So we have to have faith in what's going to unfold, and faith that we are doing our part to hold that peace and love for the world. So before we go into that, before we go into message and before I invite Stephan back for another song, I'd like to go into announcements. And so give me a second because it takes me a minute to get my screen shared. At first, I want to talk about the fact that we are being live streamed. We are now live streamed on YouTube. So if you're uncomfortable with having your picture online, please make sure that you turn off your cameras. And you're also welcome to turn off your microphones if that's something that you don't feel that you want your voice heard right now, and that's absolutely fine. However, it is something that we do each and every Sunday. So just know it's just an awareness that you are actually on YouTube right now and being live streamed. Everything that I talk about today is going to be on our event calendar. You can find it on our website at unityoftacoma.org. And I will have Amarius put the link in the chat for our events calendar so you can go and see what's happening throughout the summer and beyond at Unity of Tacoma. Today, we are continuing to celebrate Pride. We are on our last required, and I say that required in quotes because this is the color purple that we're on today. Next week, it's rainbow colors. So it's a free-for-all. Whatever you want to wear next week, whether it be tie-dye or your favorite color or a combination of weird colors, next week, it's all about the rainbow. So remember that. Today it's purple, but next week, you wear what you want. And you show out. You just be there and just be yourself or somebody else if that's what you want to do. Next week is rainbow. Also, this coming Saturday, Karen is coordinating a trip to the Olalla Lavender Festival. And so if you're interested in being part of that trip or going to Olalla and going to the Lavender Festival, contact Karen. Karen's going to be with us after the service today. And also, too, you can email me at lori@unityoftacoma.org, and I can get you in touch with Karen if you're interested in coordinating a meeting up there. And I'll have Amarius put my email in the chat so everybody has that if they want to contact me. We have a special guest that's going to be joining us on July 28th. David Elliott is back and he's going to be speaking. I'm really excited that he's coming and he's excited to be online with us. This will be the first time he'll be online. So he'll be here on the 28th. So I don't have a topic for him yet, but I'm sure I'll have one that week. So I'm really excited to have him. And his musical guest that day is Christinette Young. And finally, we have Marcia. She is coordinating a trip to Wright Park to see Shakespeare in the park, The Two Gentlemen of Verona, and that's Saturday, August 3rd, and it starts at 6 p.m. So if you're interested in that, you can contact Marcia. She is here today, and she'll be here after the service for a little bit. And if you want me to connect you with her, check my email at lori@unityoftacoma.org, and we'll get you connected with her, and you can go to the Shakespeare in the Park. Does anybody have any questions or anything from the announcements today? All right. Well, I'm going to invite Stephan back for another song before we go into message. Thanks, Stephan.
In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope, and there's quite enough power to walk through every care. For spirit, sweet spirit, is in this very room. In this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world. And in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world. And there's quite enough hope, and there's quite enough power to walk through every care. For spirit, sweet spirit, is in this very room. And there's quite enough hope, and there's quite enough power to walk through every care. Oh, spirit, sweet spirit, is in this very room. Is in this very room.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you so much. Love that song. Let's move into our message with our affirmation. So I'd like you to read the affirmation with me. And our affirmation for today, I trust in spirit and follow my intuition. Let's say that again. I trust in spirit and I follow my intuition. So our daily word today, actually, I decided to do the daily word today in honor of Curtis, who is not with us today. He will be with us hopefully as soon as possible, but he really loves the reading of the daily word. So I chose a daily word that I thought would be very appropriate for today. And the word is intuition. And it's from May 9th, 2016. And it reads, just as birds know when to migrate, I am blessed with intuition, an inner knowing or wisdom of the heart. It is my sixth sense, beyond what I see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. Intuition provides me with a direct link to spirit, where all truth resides. This inner knowing helps me know if I am making a wise decision. I discern when to take action and when to be patient. Through intuition, I may receive a flash of insight and may have an instinctive feeling about something or someone. I move forward as guided. As I trust in spirit, I find confidence in an invisible yet certain knowing. It may be felt in the stillness or triggered by outside events, a sign that I see or a phone call that I receive. I learn to trust my higher knowing and act accordingly. I trust in spirit and follow my intuition. Our inspirational lesson is from Charles Fillmore, The Revealing Word. And Charles Fillmore, if you're unfamiliar with him, he is one of the founders of Unity. He and his wife Myrtle founded Unity, and he wrote something called Revealing Word, which allows us to know the metaphysical interpretation of a lot of words. And so this word, intuition, metaphysically interpreted in the Revealing Word is: intuition is the natural knowing capacity, inner knowing, the immediate apprehension of spiritual truth without resort to intellectual means. The wisdom of the heart. It is very much surer in guidance than the head. When one trusts spirit and looks to it for understanding, a certain confidence in the invisible good develops. This faith awakens the so-called sixth sense, intuition, or divine knowing. Through the power of intuition, man has direct access to all knowledge and the wisdom of God. So sometimes there's a question as to whether or not he and Myrtle believed in intuition or extra types of knowing, and absolutely they did. It's in their writing several times. And so I wanted to just really focus on that, because even in the very beginning of Unity, we focused on that inner knowing, that intuition, that ability to connect, to open up, and to be part of that information transformation. It goes from one person to another, to another, to another, but we all receive it in different ways. And so I want to tell you a little story about that. That, of course, happens that I know. All the stories I tell you are from something that I know personally. And I have a lot of stories and a lot of interesting stories about my family and friends and things that I've experienced and things that I've heard of. And today is about my grandmother. And my grandmother used to tell this story a lot when I was growing up, but it wasn't until I was almost adult that I started to realize how weird it kind of was. And at first I was just a little kid, when you're a little kid, you hear a story and you think, oh, okay, whatever. You just don't really listen, You just run off and go play with your toys, and you don't really notice. But when she was telling the story and it became fact, I mean, it wasn't kind of, well, this is what grandma said. This is actual fact that she used to share, like it's raining outside. It was fact. So she talked about it several times as I was growing up. And when I got older, I was like, wow, that's quite an experience that I had to really think about, and I had to really mull over. So when my grandmother was a young woman and her mother died in childbirth. Now I'm going to say that again. When my grandmother was a young woman, her mother died in childbirth. She was 42 years old, my great-grandmother, and she had 14 children, and this was her 15th when she passed. That is a lot of children, and her body was very tired. And for me, Grandpa would have stayed in the barn. However, that's another story, and I'm not going to go there. However, my grandmother was a young woman. I'm going back to that. And after my great-grandmother passed, my grandmother was standing in the kitchen washing dishes. Now, they lived in a very strict household. And with all of those children, everybody had to stay in line. So no matter what was happening, no matter what grief you were experiencing, what emotions were coming out, chores always came first. So she knew that she had to get the dishes done. And I don't know if there were people involved. I don't know if there were people in the other room or what was going on. But I do know that the most important thing to her at the time was doing those dishes. So she was standing in her mother's kitchen doing dishes. And then when she got done, you know how you get done when you put them in the rack and you pull out your towel and you get wiping your hands, she turned around, and standing right in front of her was her mother. Her mother, who had just transitioned a few days before, was standing in her kitchen, looking at her as if she was standing right there, fully formed. She said she was solid. She didn't speak, but she was completely present in that moment with my grandmother in that kitchen. And of course, you can imagine my grandmother was shocked and stunned and didn't know what to do. And so she started to look around. And when she looked away and she came back, she was gone. And so she told that story several times. So it wasn't just something that she had this story and then she let it go. It became part of the lore of my family. It was something that she told everyone until the day she transitioned about her mother being in the kitchen. But she always thought it was a way that her mother was telling her that she was okay, that it was her way of saying, I am okay. I am here to visit you, just to let you know. And even though you can't see me, I am always here. So she always said that, and it made her feel comfortable and made her feel comforted. And so it was just a matter of fact. When I was younger, I thought it was weird. As I got older and I started to hear more stories about my interesting family, I realized that it is not a unique experience, that my family receives messages in strange ways. So, for example, one of my aunts made her transition, and her younger sister was driving down the road, and she was actually on the highway in her SUV, driving down the road, minding her own business. Of course, they were all doing the things that you do after someone transitions and you're making all the plans and doing all of the things. Driving down the road, and all of a sudden, she hears my aunt speaking to her like she was sitting in the back seat of the car. She could hear it in her voice. She could hear it in her ear. She could hear her voice. She heard her name being said, and she heard her talking to her. And I was like, she was so shocked and so unnerved by it. She had to pull over to the side of the road, and she had to sit there for a good hour before she could move on because she was so unnerved by it. And so again, she heard something. She didn't see it this time like my grandmother, but she heard something that was supposed to be meant for her to comfort her in her time of loss and grief. And so it gets better. So her husband, actually, as they came in to visit my grandmother here in the Pacific Northwest, her and her husband came, and in my grandmother's backyard, she used to have a little metal shed. And so my grandfather had been passed for a couple of years, and my uncle was here visiting. And when he visited, he went out to the shed for my grandmother for something. He went around the corner, and who was sitting in the shed but my grandpa? My grandpa was sitting in the shed, just like I am talking to you right here. He is looking in his eyes, and he's standing there fully formed in a solid form, looking right at him. Never said anything, but there he was. Again, the man was unnerved, and was a police officer. And so everything had to do with evidence. Everything has to do with proof. And he didn't know how to reconcile that experience. He didn't know how to decide what was happening to him. He had no idea, no reference. See, the thing is that in my family, even though we all have these experiences, and I've had several in my own life, and my children have had several, and it's been passed on, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about the fact that we receive information that's outside our normal senses. We receive information that is channeled from somewhere else. And we all do. It's not just me. It's not just my family. There are lots of people who will get information that are different than, say, we see it right here in our realities, or we hear it in our current realities. Sometimes we get it in other ways that are outside our normal senses. And that is absolutely normal. And I'm going to say that again. It is absolutely a normal human condition. We just don't talk about it. Now, when I was, a couple years ago, I was an interim minister at a spiritualist church. And while I was being an interim minister, I really didn't know much about spiritualism. So I decided I would go to their ministerial school, and I did. And I took all of their classes to learn about spiritualism and how that becomes part of their life. And as spiritualists, they learned how to understand their intuition in ways that you wouldn't normally get at another type of church. They are Christian based, and so they had the same hymns, and they had the same prayers, and they did all the same things. But when it came time to delivering a message, was what they did. Instead of just me talking to you, they would deliver messages to each other that they would intuit through their mind, from their mind's eye, or from their sense of hearing, or whatever it was. They would deliver messages. So they believe that their intuition, or their whatever, that energy or channeling, or whatever you can call it, that energy comes through them through the channels that are open to source, or to spirit, or to God, or whatever. So that information is extra, like Charles Fillmore was saying. He was saying that is an extra sense that we have. And we know that animals have it. So in our daily word reading, you talk about how animals know. They don't need to be told what time of day it is. They don't need to be told the weather's going to change. They just know. They intuit what's going to happen. They know. They're not taught how to take care of the babies. They just know. How many times have you gone through life and had an experience that was maybe something that you didn't quite understand, but you just knew it was truth? A lot of us have had that. And I would have to hazard to say that most of us, because I know that a lot of studies would say, Abraham Maslow would say, many of us have had those type of experiences, but we don't talk about them because we're afraid of what other people would think. So in spiritualism 101, one of the first classes you take is you learn about what the four clairs are. Has anybody heard about the four clairs? The four clairs. Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the four clairs today. And we're going to learn how you're going to get an idea of what it means to be able to intuit what it is that you're trying to know. So the four clairs. There's clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance. So now many people hear about clairvoyance, and they're like, okay, so clairvoyance, that sounds kind of weird. It's kind of hokey, but there are many different ways of bringing in information into yourself that are outside of what we know, because we don't talk about it. Nobody talks about it unless you're really into it, or you're part of a spiritualist church as part of your lifestyle. We don't get to hear about it. So today we're talking about it. So you know that even though you may not have the experiences, or maybe you did have those experiences and you didn't want to talk about it, those are absolutely normal experience for the human condition. So I just want to reiterate that. It's a normal condition for human beings to have these experiences. So the first one is clairvoyance. So clairvoyance is clear seeing. It is the ability to receive intuition or information through visual images, symbols, colors or visions. Now, many of us have seen the psychics that you see on TV, and they talk about, well, I see this color, or I see this letter, or I see this whatever. And that's part of the clairvoyant ability to be able to get information. Some people are clairvoyant. They receive information through this symbolism. So you may see something that is symbolic. So let's say you see the number 6 all the time. And you're like, why am I seeing this 6? Why is it always popping up? There's always some reason. There's symbolism. So it's up to you to decide what it is it means to you. But symbol clairvoyance is about getting that visual imaging, getting that information, looking at it, and to be able to figure out what's going on. Now, also, clairvoyance is also about seeing auras. So, and many of us can see auras, or you can see energy around people. That kind of thing has to do with clairvoyance. So, and then there's clairaudience. So clairaudience is what my aunt was doing when she was in the car driving down the road, and she heard her name called, and she heard her sister's voice. The clairaudience is when you hear that voice within you. It's not something you hear from outside. It's something that comes from within. So it's kind of like an inner voice. It's never cruel, and it's not chaotic like the kind you hear with the psychotic or psychosis that you hear about. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with your inner voice. It's calm. It's straightforward. It tells you exactly what it wants you to hear. And then it's never going to be something that's scary. It is something that's supportive and loving. So it's like about hearing your name. So I had one situation one time that I heard my name being called by someone who had transitioned, and I couldn't figure out why I heard his name, and it was the anniversary of his death. And it was just a reminder for me to be able to call his mother. And so it happens. And so if you hear something that's out of normal hearing, it's not necessarily that you've gone around the bend. It just means that you are having a different download of information. Then there's clairsentience. So that is when you feel something in your body. So sometimes you can walk into a room and you can feel the energy in the room. I can do it. That's my thing. I walk into a room and I'm like, okay, this energy, I shift based on what I feel. And so when you're in that room, you get the information without even knowing where the information is coming from. You just know that you need to know that there's tension in this room, or you need to know that there's support and love in this room. You can feel it in your body. You can also be in a situation where you're with someone, and maybe you start getting a real big pain in your head. You start to hurt, and you come to find out that your friend has had a migraine all day. And so you start to feel what they're feeling. So it is a feeling within your body that's giving you information about something that's going on. It's also about gut feelings. Gut feelings are something that a lot of us feel. When we get into a situation, we meet somebody and like, oh, that doesn't feel right, or I'm not feeling well. That gut feeling is a clairsentient or clair feeling. And finally, there's claircognizance. So what is claircognizance? Claircognizance is a little bit more difficult to describe, but it's a clear knowing. So again, it's like you're in a situation where you just get information and you just know it to be true. You know that it's going to happen. So let's say, for example, used to be when we used to pick up our phones, we didn't know who was on the other end. We didn't have their name on our cell phone. We would pick up, so you could before you pick up the phone, you know that person is on the line. You know that it's my sister, or I know it's my brother, or you go to answer the door, and before you even get there, you know that that person is going to be standing there. It is a knowing. It's about getting information in the moment that is absolutely truth right now. There is no determination. There is nothing that needs to be translated. It is a knowing. You know it to be true. So, yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to describe than the other ones because it's vague. There's so many different ways that you could know, but when you are absolutely positive that is truth, that is claircognizance. So what does that mean? So how does this cause any kind of input or any kind of abilities in your life, and how does that affect you? How does it really show up in your life, and how can you do it more if you want to. Now, many people might find this kind of weird. They might find that any of this extra sensory stuff being strange, but if you think about it, you probably have experienced it before. For those of us that go out into public, and some of us love to be in public, but some of us feel kind of bombarded, like there's so much information, there's too much going on. That is a way of being clairsentient. You're feeling the energy of all of the things that are going on around you. So if you think it doesn't happen to you, it does. It just happens in ways that we don't realize there has to be these 4 clairs. So how do we improve our intuition? How do we make it work for ourselves? Because if we have this extra sense or these extra senses, then how are we going to be able to use them? And Helena Wahabe, she's the director of research at the Institute of Noetic Sciences, and she is also the author of the book, The Science of Channeling. She outlines a couple of different steps that you can do to improve your ability to be able to understand these senses. So many of us already here at Unity already practice meditation. When you're in meditation, it allows you to open up your consciousness. It allows you to get away from all of the distractions of things that are happening around you, and you become aware. And so you could even get into an altered state of consciousness where you're tapping into something that is not of you. And that is basically what happens when you get this information. It comes from outside of you. It may not come from the environment that you're in, but it's coming from a channel that you have within you that's open up to this information. So definitely meditation practice on a regular basis helps to open up those channels of information. You want to develop your openness and sensitivity. Now, some people are born sensitive. I was born sensitive, so everybody says, "Oh, you're so sensitive." That was my mantra as I was growing up. "Oh, you're so sensitive. Oh, yeah." But some people need to work on it. So work on your sensitivity, being open, changing your mindset, making sure that you're open to new experiences, to try something else, to believe in the possibility that you can get this information, because sometimes our own belief that we can't do it prevents us from doing the things that we would like to do. So definitely think about and be positive about your ability, because you can and everybody can. Explore the different types of channeling. So we talked about what we talked about, the clairs, the 4 clairs. There are several different others too. I mean, the 4 clairs are the basic ones, and that, like I said, that's spiritualism 101. But there are so many different ways to take in information. So not only can you do the 4 clairs, but you can do remote viewing, where you're visualizing someplace that is beyond you, that's outside you, that you can see in your mind's eye and be able to describe that, and to be able to, that is an exercise that you can do. So really explore, and the Institute of Noetic Sciences really help you to be able to explore those different ways of learning about your own intuition. And be willing to experiment, to be willing to try, be willing to see something different. If you've never done anything outside of meditation, I've several times, but when I first went to a seance, I never been to a seance before, and I thought, okay, this is going to be fun and weird. And it ended up being a really great experience. So even though it's something weird, definitely check it out, because you don't know what channels or abilities it'll open up for you to be able to be visualized and to be into the moment. And it allows you to open up senses that you didn't even know. Definitely study and learn. If you want to learn more about opening up your different types of senses, just pick up a book. There's lots of books. If you're interested, you can contact me and I can get you in touch with some books and some resources online. The Institute of Noetic Sciences, again, spiritualism, anything that has to do with spiritualism. And then you already joined a community. You're here at Unity of Tacoma, so we can have conversations about us. We can talk about our experiences and the things that we've experienced in our lives. And we're going to be doing that here in just a minute. So part of the community that we're in is part of the process of becoming more intuitive. And then finally, practice. Now, we may have an innate ability to do it. Everyone does, and some have stronger innate abilities than others. But like anything else, if you practice, you become better. And the more you practice, the better you get. So practice, practice, practice. If you want to open up these channels to your intuition, you need to open up your mind, your heart, your soul, your spirit, and just be willing to practice on a regular basis. So what my family experienced and still experiences is not abnormal. And I just want to say that again. It's the human condition. And as the Daily Word told us today, we all have that sixth sense. And it's the ability to know from a perspective of that's outside our normal senses, our normal perception. And we can even work to activate and develop those things if we want to, by going through all of the steps, joining a community, a practice, and just learning more about it. And once we're open and available to that, then more of that experience will come to us if that's what you would like to experience. So our discussion for today, and you know we always have a discussion, is I'd like to be able to talk about experiences that you may have if you feel comfortable, that may have given you a gut feeling, a hunch. It doesn't have to be extraordinary, but an experience that you had where you just knew, or you heard, or you saw something that was absolutely outside your normal senses, but you knew it was truth that you needed to pay attention to. And you're all very quiet. Victoria. Victoria?
So go to Stephan first. She's raising her
Okay,
hand.
okay. Hold on. All right, Stephan, unmute yourself. Still can't hear you. Let's see.
There we are. Nope.
You
Yeah.
should see a microphone at the bottom of your screen. Looks like a microphone. You can click on that. You should be able to also click on your name next to your name and do it there. All right, well, as Stephan is getting that together, I'm gonna have Victoria come
I'm ready.
and we'll go back to Stephan.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. Well, intuition has been a part of my life for most of it. To a point where I used to get talking to by my mom that maybe I shouldn't share that because people might think I was weird, or they might get angry at me because they thought I was somewhere I shouldn't have been and overheard things. So she always told me to soft pedal, and the reason she did is because she was the same. And for instance, her parents were having a party, and my mother wasn't allowed at the party. She was still a child. And her great grandmother came to her while she was sitting in bed reading to say goodbye and to say how much she loved her. My mother was really startled by that. That would have been our great Debbie's and my great great grandmother Weston. And she was alive during the Civil War. And my mother ran downstairs to the party and announced that Grandma Weston had just died. Of course, that put a hush on the party, and mother was marched back to her bedroom. And but her mom did immediately go check, and Grandma Weston had just passed. And she had, in fact, come to say goodbye, because otherwise, how would my mother have known? I'll never forget kind of a fun time is I was sent to the YMCA camp, which was one of my favorite things in my lifetime, to go away to camp for a week, to Camp Douglas, it was called. And I had a great time. It was a brand new kind of experience for me. And however, all of a sudden on the bus coming home, when the bus pulled in back at the YMCA at home, after it was over, I was one of the first ones off of the bus, and I leaped from the bottom step of the bus into my mom's arms, who thankfully caught me. And I was crying, and I was saying, "Oh, I missed you so much. I missed you so much," when I really didn't think I had. It was very surprising to me. And we got over that, and we went home. A couple days later, my mother said something to me, and I responded by, "Damn, that's not true." So that made me a candidate for having my mouth washed out with soap, because swearing was not the thing. But she held herself back and sent me to my room. And after the moment cooled, I was brought back to explain myself in front of she and my father. And, did I pick that up at camp? Should I maybe not should go to camp again? And I said, "No, Mom, it's you. You say damn all the time." And she said, "I do not. No way do I." I said, "Oh, yeah, you do. You think it all the time, and you say it on the telephone." Oh, so, well, that was true. That was true. Damn was part of her vocabulary, big time. Fortunately, she didn't go the rest of the way, but I have found that my intuition, I play into it a lot, and I learned the hard way, because it seems like every time I don't listen to it and I argue and I go ahead and do the thing anyway, I always get in trouble. It's just not ever failed. And so I have learned to kind of go with the flow a little more, and listen more. I used it a great deal when I was selling real estate. One of the houses I bought, I was all excited about it, and I wanted a friend come see me, and he wasn't able to, so I went by myself. And there were painters who let me in, and I just roamed the house by myself. And as I went through the house, I realized it had a lot of tragedy in that house, and I could feel the child abuse, and I could feel an uproarious marriage, and there was a lot of bad stuff going on in that house, and it had been for a long time. And I sat in that house for about an hour to just try and take it all in and figure out whether I was going to buy it or not. And I decided to buy it. I did buy it. And I just figured that I was strong enough in my personality that I could just deal with it, and I could turn it around. When I moved into the house, the week before I moved in, I got to go through it again, and I took my dog. She immediately took a dump in the living room and started shaking all over.
Yeah.
I was mortified. There was carpet, and I didn't own it yet. But I explained to the realtor that I was with that the house just had a lot of stuff going on it, and we were going to have a lot of things to overcome. And my dog just immediately knew it. She had never ever had an accident before, and this was a purposeful dump. I mean, this was beyond her control.
She
And
knew. Mhm.
I lived there for 20 years. And when I was getting ready to sell it, I had a feng shui person come to help me with the energy in the house. She was in the house and had to leave.
Oh, wow.
And somebody else was in it. They had to leave.
You need
But we
something
did fix
stronger.
it.
Mhm.
We did fix it. And I did learn all of the truths, and the truths were everything that I had seen, plus the missing piece.
Yeah,
You know, it makes you a believer.
it does.
And
Yes.
so I always feel like I have the one on one shoulder and the one on the other shoulder, you know? And
Yeah,
so I listened very carefully to both sides and made my
excellent.
decision.
Thank you, Victoria. Yes, for sure. And sometimes that energy needs something stronger. Somebody with a lot of, I have speed dial people for that. So if you ever need that, let me know and I'll get you connected. Okay. I'm going to bring Stefan back. Thank you, Victoria. All right, Stefan, let's go. Did you get yeah, I can hear you. Hello?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yep.
So, uh, I've always been very, very psychic. I'm one of the most psychic people I know. And I have all of the ones that you were talking about. And I've had it since childhood. I mean, it's just something that came down the pike with me. And it was in my family, my mom's side, particularly in her mom. But I was one of the very youngest children of a very large family, and I never met any of my grandparents. But this house where we grew up, I used to have pretend friends, like all children have. But there was one particular pretend friend that just seemed different to me. He was more engaging. And he would say things like, let's go gather up some sticks. And so we would gather up a big pile of sticks. And then he'd say, go get a knife from the kitchen. I'm going to teach you how to whittle. And so I remember going to the kitchen, and I was searching for a knife. And my mom came in and she was astonished when I said I wanted a knife. And she said, what are you doing with it? What do you want a knife for? I mean, I'm like, 5 or 6 years old. And I said, because I want to whittle. But I didn't tell her about my pretend friend. Often children don't share all of the details about these things. I said, I just want to learn to whittle. And she said, oh, that's really interesting. She said, my father used to whittle all the time.
Oh,
And so later on, I saw a picture of my grandfather, her mother, her father, and it was my pretend friend.
oh.
So, it was like someone that I'd never met, but I recognized him.
Hmm.
So that was pretty interesting that I had met my grandfather through this this method.
Yeah, yeah. That is a real great story because yeah, and I believe these stories happen to people more often than they remember or they talk about.
Mhm.
And like Victoria was saying, you don't talk about that stuff because people think you're weird. So yeah, but it happens all the time.
I
And
like people thinking that I'm weird
I like
because
weird too. I always like to be weird. Yeah.
it happens. These things happen to me all the times. I have dreams and dreams come true.
Hmm.
I can even go to a estate sale or yard sale, which Karen and I often do, and I can just pick up an item and get all kinds of information off of it. It's like watching a movie. I mean, it's so prominent in my life. It's such a all of these things that you've talked about is such a huge part of my life. It's more a part of my life than just the day-to-day stuff. I mean, that's how powerful it is for me.
Excellent.
Somehow
Wow.
the music is connected in, but I don't know
Yes, yes,
how.
yes. I can
Yeah.
see.
So,
All right. Thank you. Thank you
yeah.
so much. Who else would like to speak on this? Sharon.
Well, I just want to get on my soapbox, and I blame a lot of the religions and the churches because, especially, I guess, the Catholicism, that after a while they learned more power was to say, you cannot know God except through our priests. And also, this is totally biology. It's totally natural to us. So it's like we're being denied. It's information that should be freely shared,
Mhm.
like meditation in schools, in school and stuff, and it's not taught. And it's personal empowerment, and so it's just a way of keeping people down.
I can
Keeping,
see that. Yeah. And Ken Wilber, the philosopher and psychologist, he talks about the development of intuition into our normal daily lives as the next level of consciousness. It
yeah,
is the next step of our evolution. And so, even though we come from that as an animal-based creatures, all have intuition. All animals have intuition. And so we've come into our where we are now, where the universe is conscious of itself. We are conscious beings and we're conscious of the universe. So therefore the universe is conscious of itself. But the next level of consciousness is when we can tap into that and use that information in ways that we can expand and be able to connect with others in positive ways. So like I was saying, as I started earlier before you got here, Sharon, I was saying that, there's so much going on in the world, so much negativity that you can feel it. It's in the air. It's really palpable right now. And so if those of us that have the ability to tap into that intuition and get into that next level of consciousness, then we can connect with each other and also create this net of positivity in the world. So we can create influence, but we need to be able to hone those skills and meet our people and to connect with them and to be part of a community. And so as that's what I see us doing. And as we are moving through unity and we are transforming and evolving in this movement. So
well, why can't Unity, why don't you organize a meditation group for like guided visualizations and to have to see how we can influence
sure.
something?
Sure, we can talk to Marcia about that actually. Marcia has been doing that with Lynn McTaggart and the Power of Eight group. So maybe she would be interested in helping us do something like that. Okay, thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it. I'm glad you were able to get your power back.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else want to speak into this?
I could say something more.
Okay.
I had, as a kid, I was such an identity crisis. I think I spoke before about I was outside of my body a lot. Um, my solar plexus was completely shot and compromised way into my 20s to try to go back in and be grounded and be me. So I didn't like, who is Sharon really? And after all these years, I think it was a healing. And who I am is what I receive from the intelligent universe. It informs my being. And so somehow that's part of who I am is blended, it's mended with the intuition, with allowing to ask and receive. And it seems to be that is part of my identity.
Excellent.
I
It's
don't
good
know
that you
how
have
else
that.
to explain it yet.
It's really good that you have that connection, that ability to be able to transcend and to be part of the greater whole. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Anyone
So
else?
Sandra it shared something in the chat room.
Okay, let me see. Well, I'm going to read it if you're okay with that, Sandra. She says, I was at Pick and Pull and I kept seeing this guy out in the junkyard and thinking it was a friend of mine. At one point, I even said to my partner at the time, I keep thinking that guy is Callaghan. Callaghan? He doesn't even really look like him. Then, as we were leaving the junkyard, who do you guess comes walking up but Callaghan? Oh, this was someone I hadn't seen in probably at least a year, and neither of us are frequent shoppers at the Pick and Pull. And I remember thinking and asking him, I wonder if I thought him into existence of that moment or if I foresaw it. I'm still not sure, and I have things like this happen quite often. Lucid and vivid dreams run on my side of the family. And I often have dreams that I know are premonitions. And I wake up and think that's one of my dreams. And sometimes in the next few weeks, it always happens. Sometimes in the next few weeks, it always happens. So yes, I have dreams are my vehicles. They are the ones that give me the most information because I can't get away from that. I'm really shut off. I have a lot of barriers when I'm out in the world because, like I was saying, I have this. I feel things and I experience things when I'm with a lot of other people. And so when I'm asleep, though, my barriers are down and I'm okay with the information coming in there. So sometimes dreams are the best way to get information, and learning how to remember your dreams is really important. I'm still working on that because as I start to work on my dreams, then my ego says, oh, wait a minute, you don't want that information. And then it blocks my dreams. So you have to work at it to make sure that you're getting the information and keeping it flowing into your life. So yeah, maybe you foresaw it. Maybe you foresaw seeing your friend and there he was. You knew it was like answering the phone. You knew it was him before you answered. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to share? If you have any questions or anything comes up, you can reach out to me and I would be happy to have a conversation about this and to give you any more resources or information or anything that might help you through the process of connecting with your intuition. So thank you for listening and being part of the conversation. I'm going to invite Stephan back for another song.
Love can build a bridge. Sing it with me. I gladly walk across the desert with no shoes upon my feet to share with you the last bite of bread I had to eat. And I would swim out to save you in your sea of broken dreams. When all your hopes are sinking, let me show you what love means. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? I would whisper love so loudly that every heart could understand that love and all in love can join the tribe. And I would give my heart's desire so that you might see. The first step is to realize that it all begins with you and me. Love can build a bridge between your heart and mine. And love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? When we stand together, it's our finest hour. We can do anything, anything. So keep on believing in the power of love. It can build a bridge. Love and only love between your heart and between your heart and mine. Love can build a bridge. Don't you think it's time? Don't you think it's time? It's time. Don't you think it's time? Oh, it's time. Yeah, yeah, love. Being a bridge for love. It's time.
Thank you. I always love that song. Beautiful. So let's get into a space of meditation. Just closing our eyes and just being present. You can also eyes slightly open, look at the screen, and you can become aware of what's happening inside of you, bringing your awareness from outside in. And just allow yourself to become more and more comfortable. Allow yourself to be supported and to relax. Each in-breath and out-breath, more and more relaxed. And as you're in this relaxed state, imagine that you have roots growing out the bottom of your feet and they extend way down into the ground. It allows you to feel connected to the earth's energy. And you feel completely stable, completely supported through this connection to the earth. And as you feel completely grounded, bring your awareness to the middle of your forehead, where some people would say your third eye lives. That place between your eyebrows. As you breathe in, imagine this light coming into that space, becoming brighter and clearer, expanding. Allow any images or colors or symbols to gently come into the space within your mind. You don't force anything, just observe it and allow it to be. What do you see? Use that space between your eyebrows to be able to bring in that light and love into your world. I'd like you to bring your awareness to your hearing, but not your outer hearing, the one that's within you. And imagine that inner voice to be surrounded by this luminous light. Listening beyond the external sounds, listening to that inner voice for words, messages that might come through. They may come as loud words or inner whispers. Be open and attentive to what those words are telling you. What do you hear? Move your attention from your hearing to your heart center. And that beautiful light that's been moving about your body now is expanding in your heart. As you breathe in, that light expands and fills your entire body. And you feel warmth and love. And this radiant light is bringing to your attention any sensation, emotion, or physical feelings that you feel within your body that are different than what you normally would feel. And trust that feeling. Begin to become aware of the differentiation between what you feel and what is outside of you coming in as a message. And that takes practice. Now I'd like to bring your focus back to your head again, but not to the forehead, but to the top of your head, where some people would call this crown chakra. And imagine this beam of light connecting you with the entire universe and allowing divine knowledge to flow into you. And as you breathe, this light infuses your mind and allows you to become clear and to open up the wisdom that is there, that availability that's always there. You don't have to look any further than what's inside. Notice that you might have thoughts or insights or maybe even sudden understandings that come all at once. This is that knowing, that inner knowing. Now take a moment to integrate all of those experiences and feel that harmony of all of your clairs working together, enhancing your intuition. And trust that you're developing these abilities and that they will become clearer as you practice. Slowly bring your awareness back to your breath. As we end this meditation, thank yourself for taking this time to practice, to connect to your intuitive self. Inhale and exhale, allowing your body to feel present in this moment. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and bring your awareness back to this space. And I'm going to invite Stephan back for another song.
Oh, I like the theme bridges right now. It's this song, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Which I didn't know the lyric Sail on Silver Girl was talking about his friend who had found a gray hair in her head, and so he wrote that part. So it's just a reminder, that that our dreams are always on the way, no matter if we're young or older. So sing it with me. I'm sure you guys know this song. When you're weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I'm on your side. Oh, when times get rough, friends just can't be found like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so high, I will comfort you. I'll take your palm. Oh, and darling,
has come. Pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. Sail on, silver bird. Sail on by. Your time has come to shine. All your dreams are on their way. See how they shine. Oh, when you need a friend, I'm sailing right behind, like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind like a bridge over troubled water. I will ease your mind. Ease your mind.
Thank you, Stephan. I love that song. Thank you so much. All right. Well, we come to the portion of our service where we open our hearts to give. All donations that we receive here at Unity of Tacoma go to support the missions and ministries and our lovely musicians each and every Sunday. And there are so many different ways you can give. You can go to our website at unityoftacoma.org/love offering to give via PayPal. You can go to our Facebook page and you can click there. There's a donate button up there. It's facebook.com/Unity of Tacoma. You can give using Zelle, using our telephone number 253-576-3225, or you can mail a check to Unity of Tacoma, P.O. Box 112289, Tacoma, Washington 98411. And we're so grateful for everything that we receive here at Unity of Tacoma. It continues to allow us to meet with you on Sundays, to be able to provide messages and be able to have the outreach programs that we provide. So it's really exciting to have this. And then I'm going to also have Amarius put a link in the chat that you can give today if you are so called to do so. And so I would like to close our service today with an inspiration. And this inspiration is actually, part of it is on the back of my shirt. You can see that I'm wearing a purple shirt, which also says Unity Worldwide Ministries on the front. That's where I work during the week. That's my day job, if you want to call it that. And there is a quote on the back of my shirt that says, "God gives freely. It is for us to keep the receiving channels open." And so it's part of a reading from one of Myrtle Fillmore, another co-founder of Unity, one of her healing letters. And so I want to read the entire passage to you. A little period of quiet and rest each day is your opportunity to establish yourself at the center of your being, the one place where the supply of love and substance is inexhaustible. God is the eternal life that we make into living. Each day, you should have a regular period of stillness when the soul may gather sustaining power and restoring life. God gives freely. It is for us to keep the receiving channels open, to keep attuned to the reality so that this intellect of ours does not take us out among the limited ideas of the world. and that is Myrtle Fillmore. And so as we go into this week, keep those channels open, keep open to the possibility that information is coming to you in different ways, and you'll be surprised. You'll start to see it, and it'll become part of who you are. And I thank you for listening and being part of the service today. I'm going to invite Stephan to come back to sing our last song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. And I'm going to put the, oops. I am going to put I already had them up there and I don't know why I did that. The words on the screen. So there you go. Stephan, you're muted again.
Mute.
There you go.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment with peace on earth and everything good.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful week, and we'll talk to you soon.